Am I the idiot for banning my brother from my wedding after he called my fiancée a gold digger at our engagement dinner? Throwaway for obvious reasons. My family is weirdly obsessed with Reddit. This is a long one. Sorry in advance. I, male, 32, proposed to my girlfriend now, fiancée Megan, female 29, about 2 months ago after dating for 4 years, and we had this whole engagement dinner thing that turned into a complete disaster because of my brother. I'm still kind of processing everything, and this might be all over the place. I've never been good at telling stories in the right order, but here goes. Some background. Megan and I met at this community garden volunteering thing back when I was basically a nobody. I was working like 80-plus hour weeks, trying to get my tech startup off the ground, living in a crappy apartment with 2 roommates, one who never did his dishes, basically broke all the time. Like, ramen for dinner broke. Actually, cheaper than ramen sometimes because I would just eat whatever free food I could find at networking events. Oh wait, I should probably mention that I'm in software development. Sorry, that's probably important context. Anyway, Megan is an elementary school art teacher and has been since we met. She drives this super old Honda that she got from her grandma and refuses to let me replace it, even though I've offered many times. She says it has character, which I guess means the weird noise it makes when you turn left. She spends her summers teaching art at a camp for underprivileged kids. She's the least materialistic person I've ever met. About a year and a half ago, my company unexpectedly took off. We developed security software that got acquired by a major tech firm. Can't say which one for privacy, but you definitely know it. And suddenly, I went from barely making rent to having more money than I honestly know what to do with. Megan insisted on keeping her teaching job, even though she doesn't need to work anymore. We did finally move into a nicer apartment together, but otherwise our lifestyle has stayed pretty much the same. Money has never really affected our relationship, though I guess sometimes I do feel weird about whether people like me or just my money now, if that makes sense. My older brother Dennis, male, 35, has always been the golden child in our family. Captain of the football team, super popular in school, definitely my parents' favorite, though they'd never admit it. But his adult life hasn't exactly lived up to all that early promise. He's jumped from business to business, opened a sports bar that closed within a year, tried some drop shipping thing that never really got off the ground, and now he's doing something with cryptocurrency that he says is going to make him millions, but I don't know. He's just had a lot of bad luck with his ventures. Our parents are always making excuses for him. Anyway, 3 weeks ago we had this engagement dinner at an upscale restaurant. It was me, Megan, my parents, Megan's mom, my Aunt Carol, Uncle Barry, and Dennis. Everything was going fine until I stood up to thank everyone for coming and propose a toast to Megan. Dennis suddenly interrupts by loudly clearing his throat and saying he has something important to say. I noticed Megan getting nervous beside me, but I thought maybe she was just excited thinking Dennis was about to give some heartfelt speech or something. Instead, Dennis, who had definitely had a few drinks by this point, slurs his words slightly as he tells everyone he needs to save his brother from making a huge mistake. The table goes completely silent. Then Dennis accuses Megan of being a gold digger. He brings up how Megan agreed to get engaged after my company succeeded, and then mentions finding a list of expensive home features in Megan's handwriting in my office. I felt my face burning with anger as Dennis continued his drunken speech. My hands were shaking under the table. I wanted to punch him. I've never been in a fight in my life, but in that moment, I seriously considered it. Megan tried to explain that the list was for a classroom project about dream homes, which is 100% true. Her students were designing dream houses as part of an architecture unit, but Dennis just laughed and didn't believe her. At that point, I stood up and told Dennis to leave immediately. I don't even remember exactly what I said, but it was something like, "Get out right now before I say something I regret," and he just smirked at me. The rest of the evening was completely ruined. I apologized to Megan and her mother. My parents seemed embarrassed, but also kept making excuses for Dennis, saying stuff like, "He's just going through a rough patch, and you know how he gets when he drinks." I couldn't sleep at all that night, just kept replaying everything in my head. The next day, Megan assured me that she wasn't going to let Dennis's accusations affect our relationship. She was way calmer about it than me, which made me feel even worse. After talking it through with her, I decided to ban Dennis from our upcoming wedding. I just can't risk him pulling something like this again on our actual wedding day. The family fallout has been intense. My mom called crying. My dad says I'm tearing the family apart over one mistake, and I've had various relatives calling to pressure me to reconsider. Dennis has sent a few text messages saying things like, "Sorry things got out of hand," but he's never directly apologized to Megan or acknowledged that his accusations were false. Just these vague non-apologies that don't actually address what he did. I feel confident that I'm doing the right thing by protecting Megan from further insults. But with all this family pressure, I'm starting to wonder if I'm overreacting. Megan says she supports whatever decision I make, but I can tell this whole thing has really hurt her. Am I the idiot? Edit. Wow, this blew up overnight. To answer some common questions. 1. Yes, Megan and I were already living together before my company took off. We moved in together after about a year of dating when we were both basically broke. We split rent 50-50 even though I make more now because she insists on it. 2. Dennis has had financial problems for years. He's asked me for loans multiple times that he never pays back. 3. For those asking about the wedding, it's in about 2 months. 4. The list Dennis found really was for Megan's classroom project. Her 4th graders were designing dream homes and she made a sample list to show them what kinds of things they could include. It had stuff like indoor pool and movie theater because it's for children. 5. To everyone saying I need to cut Dennis out completely, it's not that simple. He's still my brother and we have a lot of history, but I agree he crossed a major line. Number 6. To the person who asked if I'm sure Megan isn't a gold digger, she was with me when I had nothing. She still drives a 12-year-old car and buys clothes from thrift stores. Just stop. Edit 2. Someone asked if Dennis has always been jealous of me. Honestly, no. He was always the successful one growing up. I was the nerdy younger brother who got good grades but wasn't cool. This whole dynamic where I'm more financially successful than him is very new and weird for both of us. For context on how much Megan is not a gold digger, when I first got the acquisition money, I tried to pay off her student loans as a surprise. She refused and actually got mad at me for trying to do it without discussing it first. She said she needs to pay them herself. After Dennis left the dinner, my Aunt Carol told me that Dennis had asked her for money the week before. So there's definitely something going on with his finances that I don't know about. A lot of people are saying I should talk to my brother directly instead of through text. I've tried calling him multiple times, but he either doesn't pick up or says he's too busy to talk. I'm not sure what else I can do at this point. Now, for the first update. Well, the wedding happened. I mean, obviously I knew it was going to happen, but now it's like, done. Over. I don't know, it's weird to think that after all the stress and planning and family issues, we're actually married now. The last few weeks have been really tough, and honestly, I'm still processing everything. So after that whole disaster at our engagement dinner, where my brother Dennis basically called my now wife Megan a gold digger, things have been super tense with my family. Like super tense. I stuck to my decision about banning Dennis from the wedding, which apparently makes me the bad guy according to half my family. My mom called me like every other day crying about how I'm breaking her heart and tearing the family apart, and my dad kept saying stuff like, he's your only brother and family should forgive each other. Whatever. The worst part is that they kept relaying these half-assed messages from Dennis like he feels terrible about what happened and he never meant to cause problems. But like, he never actually called me, or Megan, or sent a real apology. Just these vague, sorry about the drama texts that don't acknowledge what he actually did wrong. We ended up going with a smaller venue than we originally wanted because Megan fell in love with this historic building downtown. Megan also insisted on doing a charity registry instead of regular gifts, although we did end up getting some nice stuff from her friends and my coworkers. My boss got us this expensive coffee machine that I don't even know how to use yet. About 3 weeks before the wedding, I was on the phone with my mom going through some last-minute guest list changes, and she accidentally let something slip. She was talking about how stressed my dad has been lately, and then mentioned that Dennis had recently asked them for a $75,000 loan for his crypto thing. $75,000. They said no, obviously because they don't have that kind of money just lying around. And guess when he asked them, like 2 days before our engagement dinner, where he called Megan a gold digger. It suddenly all made sense. Dennis wasn't concerned about me marrying a gold digger. He was just pissed that I have money and wouldn't give it to him, so he tried to mess up my relationship. I was so angry I almost hung up on my mom mid-conversation. Then at the rehearsal dinner, which was last Friday, my cousin Heidi cornered me at the bar. She asked if I was really going through with banning Dennis from the wedding. And when I confirmed I was, she sighed and told me Dennis has always been jealous of me. I was honestly shocked to hear that, because I always thought Dennis was the golden child, the sports star, the popular one. Why would he be jealous of me? Then Heidi tells me that Uncle Barry overheard my parents talking years ago about how worried they were about Dennis's financial irresponsibility. Apparently he has some serious gambling debts that nobody talks about openly. Like, the family knows but pretends not to know. Which is such a weird family dynamic, but also explains so much. For a second I actually felt bad for Dennis, like maybe I should be helping him instead of punishing him. But then Heidi mentioned that Dennis has been saying more nasty things about Megan to extended family members, calling her manipulative and saying she's trapped me and other BS. So yeah, any sympathy I had disappeared pretty quick. The worst part, Heidi warned me that Dennis might show up to the wedding uninvited. The actual wedding was last weekend, and it was perfect. Well, almost perfect. My dad's brother and my cousin Tammy didn't come, supposedly because they had prior commitments, but everyone knows it was because they were protesting Dennis not being invited. Whatever. Their loss. Megan looked incredible. We left for our honeymoon right after the wedding. We're in Bali now, and the first few days were absolutely perfect. We visited temples, spent time on the beach, got massages, ate incredible food. It was exactly what we needed after months of family stress and wedding planning. But then on like the 5th day, so 2 days ago, I started getting these increasingly frantic messages from Dennis about some family emergency that needed my immediate attention. I ignored them at first because I figured it was just more manipulation, but they kept coming. He kept saying he needed my help as soon as possible and that it was serious. I got worried that something might have actually happened to my parents, so I called them. They were fine. And get this, they said Dennis told them he was going away for a while to clear his head, and they hadn't heard from him in days. I tried calling Dennis back, but it went straight to voicemail every time. And then yesterday, Megan and I came back to our hotel after a day of sightseeing, and guess who was sitting in the hotel lobby looking like absolute shit? Dennis. My brother somehow found us in Bali and showed up at our hotel looking completely disheveled and desperate. I'm still in shock, honestly. I don't even know what to do. Megan went up to our room to give us privacy, but I can tell she's upset, and honestly, I'm furious. I'll update again when I figure out what the hell is going on. This is definitely not how I pictured spending my honeymoon. Edit. Since a lot of people are asking, no, I did not tell Dennis where we were staying. I'm guessing he got the information from my mom. I specifically chose this boutique hotel because it's away from the main tourist areas, and it's been so perfect until now. The staff has been amazing. Rose petals on the bed, complimentary spa vouchers, the works. And now this. Edit 2. To answer the most common questions. 1. We've been married for 9 days now. The wedding was last Saturday. 2. No. Dennis has still not directly apologized to Megan. Not once. 3. Yes, I'm aware that Dennis probably just wants money. That's my first guess too. 4. For those saying I should have just let him come to the wedding, he literally told my extended family that Megan trapped me. Would you want someone like that at your wedding? 5. No, I haven't given him any money and don't plan to. Now for the second update. So I promised an update about the whole Dennis showing up in Bali situation, and wow, a lot has happened in the past few days. It's been about 3 days since I walked into our hotel lobby and saw Dennis sitting there looking like absolute garbage. Unshaven, clothes all wrinkled like he'd been sleeping in them for days, these huge dark circles under his eyes. It was honestly shocking because Dennis has always been super concerned about his appearance. Megan was absolutely amazing through the whole thing. I seriously don't deserve her. She just squeezed my hand and whispered that she'd go up to our room to give us some privacy. Even after everything Dennis said about her, she was still being considerate. I was honestly ready to just tell Dennis to fuck off and leave, but Megan being Megan was like, just hear what he has to say, which is why she's a better person than me, I guess. So I told Dennis I'd talk to him, but not in the lobby. I took him to this little garden area because I didn't want him anywhere near our room. He asked for a scotch, but I just ordered him water because I wasn't about to start buying him drinks after he crashed our honeymoon. At first, he tried to act all casual, asking about the wedding and making comments about how fancy the hotel was. He kept looking around at everything, like he was mentally calculating how much it all cost, which made me super uncomfortable. I just sat there waiting for him to get to the point because it was pretty obvious he didn't fly all the way to Bali just to congratulate us. Finally, he starts telling me about his current situation. Apparently, he got involved with some serious investors for his cryptocurrency platform who turned out to be connected to loan sharks or something. Honestly, I was skeptical because Dennis has always had these dramatic stories whenever he needs money. But then he lifted up his shirt and showed me this nasty bruise on his ribs. Said it was a warning from these people. I'm not gonna lie, it looked pretty bad. But I don't know, it could have been from anything. After 20 minutes of this story that kept going in circles, he finally gets to the point. He needs $100,000 to pay off these dangerous creditors, or he's afraid they'll really hurt him next time. $100,000. During my honeymoon, I was honestly shocked. I know I have money now, but that's a huge amount to just hand over to someone who has never paid back a single loan before. Plus, the timing was just, come on. My honeymoon. Really. And that's when things got really interesting. I asked him how he even found us at this specific hotel in Bali. We didn't post the hotel name anywhere on social media specifically to avoid family drama. We just shared some pictures of the beaches and stuff. He hesitated for a second and then admitted he got the information from our mom. I felt so betrayed. I specifically told my parents not to share our honeymoon details with anyone because we wanted privacy. Dennis quickly added that he didn't tell our parents why he needed the information, just that he wanted to send us a surprise gift. I was getting more and more annoyed, so I just asked him directly, "Have you actually apologized to Megan yet for what you said at our engagement dinner?" And he just waved his hand dismissively and said, "That's ancient history now." Ancient history. It was literally 3 months ago. I pressed him asking if he still believed Megan was a gold digger. He hesitated and then said he was drunk. But I have to admit the timing is suspicious. I could feel myself getting angry as he continued saying, "She's got me wrapped around her finger." And then he had the nerve to say, "Blood is thicker than water and she'll never have my back like family will." I almost lost it at that point. Which family member is currently ruining my honeymoon to ask for money? Anyway, I told Dennis I needed time to think and that we'd talk tomorrow. I wasn't going to give him cash directly, obviously, but I did arrange for him to stay at this budget hotel nearby and paid for the room in advance. I didn't want him sleeping in the lobby of our hotel all night. When I got back to our room, Megan and I had a long talk about it. She's way too understanding about all of this. She suggested we could offer to help Dennis find legitimate debt counseling and maybe work out a proper loan with actual repayment terms and consequences if he doesn't pay. She's so much more mature than I am, honestly. So the next morning, I met Dennis for breakfast to tell him our decision. I explained that we wouldn't be giving him cash, but that I have a friend who works in finance who could help structure a proper debt solution, and that I'd be willing to help him get financial counseling. And that's when he completely lost it. He slammed his fist on the table so hard the silverware jumped. People at other tables were staring at us. He leaned in and said, "I don't need your financial advice. I need the money you owe me." I was like, "Owe you? For what?" He said after everything he did for me growing up and that he always protected me, which is just not true. He literally used to use me as target practice for dodgeball. He once told all my friends I still wet the bed when I was 12. I didn't. I pointed out that he's been asking for loans for years and has never paid a single one back. His face got all red and he said at least I didn't marry a gold-digging bitch. That was it. I stood up immediately and told him to leave. He refused, saying he wouldn't leave without the money. By this point, the hotel security was already watching us, and I just gave them a nod. As they approached, Dennis started yelling that I was dead to him. I just calmly said, "You're the one who chose money over family, not me." The security guys escorted him out while he was still yelling stuff about Megan. It was humiliating. I immediately called my parents and told them what happened. My dad finally admitted that Dennis's loan shark story was probably exaggerated. Apparently, he does owe money to some business partners who are getting aggressive about being paid back, but the whole "my life is in danger" thing was most likely just to manipulate me. Dad also mentioned that Dennis has been gambling again, which they've been trying to keep quiet. I arranged for Dennis to get a plane ticket home, sent to his email, not as cash. And somehow, Megan and I managed to salvage the rest of our honeymoon. We actually had an amazing time the last few days, but there was definitely this cloud hanging over everything. We just got home yesterday and found out Dennis moved back in with our parents. They said he's getting help for his financial issues, but I've heard that before. I've decided I'm open to rebuilding our relationship in the future, but only after he gets professional help and offers a genuine apology to Megan. Some of my family thinks I'm being too harsh, but my cousin Heidi and my Aunt Carol have actually privately messaged me saying they're glad I finally stood up to him. I feel pretty confident that I'm doing the right thing by setting these boundaries, but I also find myself lying awake at night wondering if I could have handled things differently. Like, what if he actually is in danger and something happens to him? I know that's probably just his manipulation getting to me, but still, he's my brother, you know.